welcome to Jack's Reading Corner. I am Jack, and I was gonna film a video today, but I thought I would go ahead and film one real quick before I go for my evening run, which I love this time of year because I can wait until like 4 or even 5 if my parents aren't, if dinner isn't ready. Then I could go for my run at 5 because the sun is still out and still bright and shiny out, and I love this time of year. Like, I'm definitely a spring autumn person. I used to be just like into spring, and yes, partly because my birthday is next month. But I find that as I've gotten older, and maybe this is partly because I know a lot of booktubers have said that their favorite time of year is autumn. Autumn has also become my favorite time of year. So definitely spring, autumn kind of person. I mean, I like Christmas around, like, I like winter time around Christmas. And then after that, I get tired of the cold weather, which is why I'm so glad we moved down south. As you can see, Rascal's in the chair. You can see a little bit of him in the corner of the screen. And then summer, yeah, you get to go swimming and you get to go on vacation. But now I feel like it doesn't matter as much anymore because I'm not a student anymore. So, like, yes, we have a community pool now, but then I'm not big on I don't like the beach. I have this weird fear of water slides. Don't ask me why. As soon as I get up there, go down the water slide, I kind of get panicky and like freeze up I don't even know, I've never even jumped off a diving board. But and then I just the pool is kind of, I mean, it's nice to cool off, but it's not, when it's just me surrounded by strangers, then it's not as fun. I mean, I like doing laps, and sometimes I go into my own little head, and but and I was definitely one of those kids who played mermaids in my pool, because we used to, in our old house, we used to actually own a pool, but then for some reason, at some point, I stopped using it, and I think it was probably because it was in a shaded area, so it was like always freezing, which, yes, I know, it's pool, it's supposed to be freezing cold, it's supposed to be cold because it's a pool. But it was just, like, a little too cold. I was like, I prefer, like, if you're gonna have your own pool, I would rather be in the sun, not shaded by trees. So I thought I would update you. So anyway, I'm gonna update you guys. I am off this weekend, but as I always say, they could potentially call me. Hopefully they won't. And I think this time I'm probably going to say I'm not available because since I don't drive and I have to rely on my parents are out of town this weekend. So, I mean, I could, there is Uber, which is basically, taxi service, but, there's the risk that they might have me come in, like, late afternoon and then the evening. I'm not necessarily 100% sure about taking Uber in the evening hours. So enough about that stuff. Let me show you. Let's talk about books. So it's funny what kind of motivated, what I just watched this YouTube booktube video done by Emma from Emma Books, talking about consumerism on booktube, and I think, like, first, I thought it was very interesting, and I personally don't believe I'm one of those people who, I think I am influenced by booktube, as I made a whole video about it, but I don't think I'm one of those people that has to buy every book that, like, when I started my channel, I just wanted to talk about books, and I didn't necessarily feel this urge to buy every book that every booktuber I like talked about, because sometimes some of the booktubers I like to watch because I just enjoy watching them and hearing them talk about books, don't necessarily read the same kind of books. Like, I am a fan of, lately I've been talking a lot of mentioning Steve Donahue a lot in my videos, and, I like history, but I don't necessarily, I only read certain kinds of nonfiction. He's a huge nonfiction reader, and I don't the history, and with history books, it would probably also depend. And then but I just like his personality. He's so fun and easygoing, and I think he's really passionate and really wants to help people find books for people. In fact, I think he works at a bookstore. I think, and I think he also writes reviews for books. So I just like him as a person, and some of his books do sound interesting to me. Some of the books he reads do sound kind of compelling and interesting. And the same thing, I really like Peter Maughan. He has such a great, fun personality. He's excited and he's optimistic. He's such a happy person. So I like hearing him talk about books, whether I'm interested in the books he wants to read or not. I like some of these booktubers. I just like hearing them talk because they have such charming and likable personalities. But anyway, I don't think it's necessarily that I will go out and buy a whole bunch of books because, I feel like to be a booktuber, I have to buy this book. But with that being said, I do feel like sometimes these booktubers that I do have books in common with, or, I'm interested in that genre or whatever, then I end up feeling the need to, I do feel like, I have to buy this book. So in a way, yes, I am kind of, I am kind of in that whole over consumerism, but at the same time, I don't buy every single book that booktubers talk about. And then there's also, I also, too, in my defense, I also have been using the used bookstore a lot, but not that but of course that's not necessarily an excuse to buy a whole bunch of books. And I do try to rein myself in a little bit, maybe not enough. And plus, because I live at home with my parents still kind of have a hold over me when it comes to when I buy things. And I still feel the need to make sure my mom is okay with me making that purchase. And I mentioned this a couple weeks ago where I was feeling horribly guilty because I knew I spent too much. So I am self-aware, and I do feel guilty. The problem isn't, yes, I can feel guilty, but then sometimes I end up not. Just because you feel it doesn't mean that I have to take action and not, there's a difference between being aware and taking action and actually doing something about it. And really the only thing I can do is just not try to do the best I can to control and rein myself in. Now, of course, with that being said, I did buy some books. Well, actually, I only bought one book. So, in my defense, I only bought one book. So that was my way of controlling myself, at least a little bit, is instead of buying 2 or 3 books, I just bought one book. Of course, it also helps when you don't have a lot of money in your wallet because you've already wasted your money. And I was trying to, restrict myself and just buy one paperback. Although it might have been better if I had just bought a mass market paperback, and maybe the fact that I couldn't really find it, nothing really stuck out to me, maybe that should have been a sign that I shouldn't have bought anything in the first place. But it's definitely something that I'm trying to work on, my self-control. But the one book I bought, that I actually purchased, was this. Let me first talk about this book. I don't know how to say it. The Deptford trilogy. I think it's it's a bind up. All the books in the series are in this one book. By Robertson Davies. And from what I got, as soon as I hear, I think this goes back to that when I did that buzzword book boxes, buzzword tag. I think some of the words, I don't know if I actually mentioned them, because after I filmed the tag, I was like thinking, oh, there's some I should have mentioned this word, I should have brought this word in, this is a buzzword. Because it was like, I was trying to do it really quickly, and then after the fact, I was like, oh, damn, I should have included this and this. But like this, one of the words, mysterious, is in there. Fantastical. I think the magic was myth, magic, and history. That's in there. But it just sounded, in some of like the blurb on the back made me kind of intrigued. Although I should have gone on Goodreads. Because that's what I do. If I'm uncertain about a book, this is one of the ways I try to rein myself in, is that I go on Goodreads and read the reviews. Now, I'm not, I don't do, the average rating of this book, this must be a bad book, or this must be a great book. No, I actually do look at the reviews and read the lower score reviews, not necessarily the 5 and 4-star reviews, because sometimes those are a little biased. Of course, you could make that argument with the low-star reviews, too, but, I feel like at least 3 stars are the most reliable reviews. Because I do agree. I don't know if it was Olive from a book Olive who said that. Or actually, yeah, because she was the one, she did a discussion video on the star review rating system. And I think she said that 3-star rating reviews are probably the best ones to look at to decide. Because they're kind of, it might not have been her, I don't know. I just remember someone or reading something that said, hearing someone talk about, or reading something that talked about how 3 stars are probably the best. Because they're not one way or the other. They're not biased on one way or the other. They still like the book, but they're not like, oh my god, I love this book. This book is so great and it's so wonderful and oh my god, did this great and this great and or, oh, this book is awful, it's horrible, it should be burned, and, oh, I can't believe people love this book, and, it's not full of, it's not gushing or ranting about the book. It's kind of in the middle ground where you do like it, but you just don't love it or you don't hate it. I think it's, a good balance. And that's why I try to look at the 3-star reviews. So, I probably should have done that for this book, especially since there's really no description, no, I guess this kind of is. Around a mysterious depth is woven a glittering, fantastical, cunningly contrived trilogy of novels, luring the reader down a labyrinthine tunnels of myth, history, and magic. The Depth 4 trilogy provides an exhilarating antidote to the world from where the fear and dread and splendor of wonder have been banished. In Washington Post Book World, modern classic. Observer says Robert Davies is a novelist whose books are thick and rich with humor, character, and incident. They are plotted with skill and much flamboyance. He's the kind of writer who makes you want to nag your friends until they read him, so they share the pleasure. In my case, I don't think that's going to happen. Except for maybe the 2 that live in Maryland, but Terry from Florida, she's as I said millions of times, she's a bit picky of a reader. Which I guess, seeing it Laz, I remember Peter Mon actually saying this, you read what you want to read. So it's just sometimes I can be a bad friend, and I get a little annoyed that, she's so, I get so frustrated because I feel like, because she only reads a few genres and is very particular about what she reads, enough to read the first chapter and like the characters and blah blah blah, I feel like she kind of limits herself. But of course, it's up to her, and I should let my friend be, let her read what she wants to read, no pressure, and to be fair, it's also partly because I'm looking for someone to discuss the books I love, someone who I can discuss them, very, have really in-depth, I don't want to say this word again, I just said it 3 times, discussions with someone. So who knows, maybe I'll meet a guy and fall in love and we'll have that kind of relationship. Or if not, hopefully one of my friends will one day, like the 2 from Florida, Larissa and Therese, maybe they'll be get into some of the books I like to read. But I don't know. Who knows? And also, and then Larissa, it's also kind of debatable because, I mean, she has admitted that she struggles with getting through books because she gets distracted easily. Which I think I found that kind of interesting because I get distracted easily, yet when it comes to books, I can get through them quickly. But well, not quickly, but I can focus on them a lot longer than she has. But yeah, let me finish. Okay, so next blurb is he is to say the least a mature and wise writer. He is to say the least a mature and wise writer. Anthony Burgess. One of the great modern novelists. Michael Bradbury in the Sunday Times. So I hope I agree. Although I think it's Murphy Napier who said you can't really trust blurbs sometimes, or at least she doesn't trust them, and I kind of definitely can see her point. So that's the book I bought, but what was really cool is that I actually got books for free, because my bookstore, the Gibbons bookstore, does not get a lot of sci-fi. Occasionally it has, but then I guess I miss it when it's there. But then, I think it's because this community is full of, older people, seniors, retirees, and then there are some up-and-coming families. So I feel like there's not a lot of people who read the kinds of books like the fantasy. Although today, it's awesome because I actually saw Throne of Glass today. I mean, I actually saw it there in the YA and kids section in the display, display table. Throne of Glass was actually there. It's like, oh my god! I mean, you could hear the Hallelujah chorus. It was so awesome. It was like, oh my god, it's actually there. Oh my god, someone actually gave the bookstore and donated Throne of Glass. Of course, that could also mean that they didn't like it, or it could mean maybe it's because what I like to do is if I'm going to donate a series, I want to give them the whole series. But maybe this person doesn't think that way. Maybe that person just is donating them one by one as they go through them. Either that or sadly they just didn't like it, which would be a bit of a disappointment because I'm one of those crazy people who still kind of holds it in my heart. For me personally, I know her writing is not perfect, and there's people who have a lot of issues with Sarah J. Maas, but her stories are fun for me. They're still fun, and I am still determined to read the rest of the Throne of Glass series. I gotta read the 5th book, which actually, the other thing I don't know if I'm going to talk about in this video, because I'm talking a lot in this video. Actually, I might just do it a separate video, but, I might read, maybe that should be one of the books I read for the Fantasy-a-thon. But, anyway. So, what was really awesome is that, they actually got some sci-fi book, a whole bunch of sci-fi books. Well, I mean, technically fantasy books, but, I'm not going to be all rude and correct them, because it does drive me crazy when people put sci-fi and fantasy as one thing, and it's not. It's 2 separate genres with different things, but I didn't bother correcting them because I'm not gonna be a rude little bitch or anything to them. They're perfectly nice people. And they got a whole box full of sci-fi books. And Lisa, the woman, one of the workers approached me and was like, did you know we got a whole a box of sci-fi books? Or she was like, did you bring those in? I was like, no. And so as soon as she said, I followed her right to that little back area and saw the huge bin of a bunch of sci-fi books. And I found these. So I'm kind of getting into R.A. Salvatore, which years ago I remember someone telling me that R.A. Salvatore was okay. Yes, I will get to you. I will look at you in a little bit. I don't know why it keeps notifying me that I have a new subscriber. and which is really awesome. I'm happy, but it keeps notifying me like, did you know this? Did you know this? I was like, yes, and I will look in a minute. Don't worry, I'm gonna check it out because that's what I've been trying to do. Like every time I see that I get a new subscriber, I make sure to check out their channel, at least watch 1 or 2 of their videos. Although I might wait until after I go to my run. But yeah, I saw these. Oh, wait, these are actually out of order. The Dark Elf. It's the Dark Elf trilogy. The first book being Homeland. Second book is Exile, and then the final book is Sojourn. But I actually have some other R.L. Salvatore books. The Hunters. I might have taken those down. No, I don't think I did. Where are they? The Hunter. Sea of Swords. I don't know what trilogy that's part of, or what series it's part of. And then the Hunters something trilogy with the first book, 1,000 Orcs. Like these books. Hunter's Blade trilogy. I have Hunter's Blade trilogy, the first book, 1,000 Orcs, and then The Lone Drow. And I actually saw the hardback copies of those books there, but of course they still someone didn't turn. Although I didn't really look through that bin thoroughly, but as thoroughly as I could have. So they might have had that book. But yeah, I had these from before. I got from there before. So they have had occasionally, and I've got and I also got another book from that same universe. A couple of days ago, I also got this one. This is also a Forgotten Realms book, but it's from a different author. It's Ed Greenwood. The Knights of Myth Draenor. And it's book 1, Evening Star. But I love these. I really like these books. I almost wish I hadn't, because Candle is a Forgotten Realms book, but I didn't think I would ever get to it, so I ended up getting rid of it. But I actually wish I hadn't, because I just had it for so long. But it was cool, and I got these for, and like that, I didn't know they were a gift. Actually, what seems to be what's. I think I do have a little bit of my dad's social skills, and I've talked with the people that work at the library. I know some of the people there that work there. Terry is one of them. I don't remember the old man's name. And then I can't even think of Melissa. And then there's Melissa, and then there's I think another older woman that works there. Terry's kind of in the middle. I think she's kind of like my parents' age and maybe a little bit younger than my parents. And then Melissa is only a little bit younger. And then I don't know them all by name, but I know all the people at Gibbons bookstore. And then Lisa is kind of the go-between both the Gibbons bookstore and then the Gibbons library. I think she runs the whole thing, both of those. And she was the one who was like, here, this is my gift to you. Because I was kind of talking, and I was like, oh, it's too bad I might have to put that, one of the books I was looking at before, put those back, and then just get these. But she was like, oh, no, this is my gift to you. So that was really cool. And Lisa's really nice. I do really genuinely like Lisa. She's She's such a nice, very sweet person, and she was willing to help me get a volunteer job. I was gonna get a volunteer job, but then that doesn't pay, and I needed to get a job that actually pays. So I can't wait to read these at some point. And I have the whole, and it's so great because they don't. The other thing is they don't. When they have books that are part of a series, you don't necessarily get the whole series there. Sometimes you get like either the first book or the second book, or maybe it just random. It's kind of annoying actually, but I don't think it can really be helped. So, and she did say that she would look out for the Hunter's Blade trilogy if she saw the last one there, but I don't know when I'll go back. Because I'm trying, I don't want to go back tomorrow, I'm trying not to. And there's no guarantee it's going to be there tomorrow anyway, so. So that was really awesome. So that was well, let me real quick tell you guys what I'm currently reading today. So I read a little bit, I did, before I left to go to the bookstore, because I was just waiting until my parents leave and then I was gonna walk up there, but then my mom offered to take me up there because, she knew I had some books that I was gonna donate, so she was like, well, do you want us to just take you up there before we leave? So I ended up taking him up on that offer. But before that happened, I ended up getting back into reading this, Revival by Stephen King. Which I've mentioned what this book is about before, but I'll say it again. Okay, so our main character, Jamie Morton, in his town, when he was a little boy, he met the new minister who came to his town, Charles Jacobs, and he was very had strong faith. Well, of course, if you're going to be a minister, you gotta have strong faith. He was, just a happy, warm guy, and who had a passion for science, particularly electricity. But then his wife and baby boy get killed in a car accident, and that kind of causes him to lose faith and to become essentially an atheist. Because, of course, when tragedy happens, you're thinking, why would God let this happen? How could God do this to me? How would God take these people from me? And so years later, when Jamie's gone, he's joined a rock band as a teenager and as a young adult. He's gone into the typical drug scene of rock stars, and I can't remember which drug it was that he was on, but he runs into Charles Jacobs again, who is no longer a minister, of course, but he's still very passionate about science and electricity. In fact, now he does the special performance where he projects pictures of people with them lit up, kind of thing. And Jamie kind of helps him, for a while. Jamie ends up helping him with that. And then in turn, Charles Jacobs, now Dan Jacobs, offers to help use this special new cure he's come up with using electricity to cure Jamie of his drug addictions. And it seems to work, but the last part I read, Jamie had had this weird moment. First of all, the electricity kind of altered his brainwaves a little bit so that he didn't think about it and didn't have this need for the drug. But unfortunately, it has had consequences because even though he no longer has the need for the drug, he has these moments where he also kind of goes into a seizure and starts doing the motions of, putting the needle in his arm. And then they recently came across a woman who visited them, or this guy, who says his wife, after her picture being taken by Mr. Jacobs, by Charles Jacobs, that it had a weird effect on her. So that's just, and I don't know if, because sometimes they're in these stories, you find out that they're just using that character as an excuse, but I'm guessing that, yeah, he altered their brainwaves, but it kind of had long-term consequences or effects or whatever you want to call it. But I've been starting off with this book again because, one, it's not as long as The Stand, and it might take me less time and I'll be able to get this done. And also, I had been meaning to get back to it, and then when what is her name? I'm trying to think of her name. I know it. I did know it, but I can't think of it anymore. Missy, that's her name. Missy, I'm surprised I forgot. I should, because it's my cousin. Missy is also my cousin's name. Missy, I can't remember her channel name. I know her first name is Missy. Usually, though, I remember the channel name. I just can't remember the first name. This time it's the reverse. She's a Stephen King fan, and she has the Stephen King read-along group on Goodreads, and each month or every 2 months, they'll read a Stephen King book. And in March, this month, it's still March, technically, as I'm filming this, they were reading Revival. Of course, I didn't get to Revival until now, but, I'm not going to get this done in like 2 days. But unless I just read 24 hours, which is not going to happen, because I'm not as passionate as I am about reading. I've never done that before. I mean, maybe I could if I put in the effort, but there's just, first of all, I don't like it when it's too quiet. Like, in fact, I just came to a revelation. We went to visit my grandma. We came back from my grandma's house yesterday. Actually, my last few videos, I talked about this. So, while I was there, I had realized something, that I don't think I can, when I'm there, I can't, because sometimes they'll, if my mom and grandma go to run some errands that I don't want to go on, I try to use that time to get some reading done, so because I can turn off the TV and I don't have to listen to the news. Or I don't have to have the news on in the background. And I realized that I don't think I can, I kept wanting to do, like, either watch a YouTube video or just go walk around or go eat something. Like, I was feeling restless, so it's almost like I can't do that. I don't know why. I mean, maybe because it's not my own house, even though I've been there a million times. It's my grandma's house. But in some small way, it could be just that it's just not my house. So it doesn't have the sounds I'm used to. But anyway, and who knows, maybe because I don't have my actual books here, when I'm there, except for the ones I brought, I don't know. It's weird. But I didn't get much reading done while I was there, except for on the way home, the times I was in the car. I mean, I wonder if I should have brought this book with me, but, so yeah, I'm finishing this up, and I guess I will be finishing that up in April. I don't know what they're reading in April, but I guess I might not be reading that. But yeah, this is one of his few non-horror books, actually, because there's not much horror in this book. There's really no horror, maybe the horror of tragedy, like someone dying, and sometimes electricity can be kind of scary, so, but it's more just, I don't know, but, I'm also, what I did bring with me, that I did read a tiny bit, is I read the first 2 chapters, I read up to the first 3 chapters of Middlemarch again for the 3rd time. And this time I feel like I need to take notes. This time I'm actually going to take notes. And I don't want to take too much time in between readings of each of the chapters. That's part of the problem, I think. so we've like, and I've only, I already on my other video I talked about where I was in the book, how we meet the two sisters. The first part is about the first book we meet the Brooks sisters, Cecilia and Dorothea. They're living with their uncle because I think their parents died, and their uncle's trying to get them getting married. You have Cecilia, who's the one who has more common sense, and she's the typical young woman of that time period, likes fashion, wants to, likes jewelry, likes much more girly, while Dorothea is more the intellectual, book smart. She's very clever type, and this gentleman, Mr. Sir James Chatham, is interested in her, but she can't stand him. She is annoyed by his presence alone, and she wants to marry the vicar, Mr. Casaubon. She thinks he's on the same level as far as intelligence, and she can have a good marriage with him. And of course, Cecilia does not agree with that. In fact, she thinks Casaubon is kind of ugly. But of course, Dorothea's not like that. She doesn't care about looks. Which, if you think about it, they both are, like, that can, just like when you focus more on looks and how that can go wrong, it can also go wrong if you just focus on someone having the same intelligence level as you, and, you don't necessarily have the same, the passion between the two of you. I think when people think about marriage, of course, I'm not the best person to judge this, but in my personal opinion, when you think about marriage, you want to find a balance between, like, someone that you have an intellectual, or the same intellectual level, mixed with someone you have passion for. I think that's what makes a good marriage. Like I said, I'm not really one to judge, but from what I've seen, I think that's how an ideal situation. And I didn't read I Captured the Castle when I was gone. I did not bring I Captured the Castle with me. I'm finally on chapter 10 of that one, but I got to that before I left. In this one, like, despite the setback before with the two brothers, with Simon and Neil, the Connor brothers, feeling like the one, what is her name? Rose, trying too hard and making obvious that she wants to get Simon to want to marry her. They, after the whole bear incident, they decide to give them another chance and then invite them to dinner, invite them to their house for a dinner party. And Simon ends up does like Rose. Although I think he looks at them with very rose-colored glasses, pun intended. And, I still am not sure what's going to happen, who is going to be the love interest for because I don't know if Cassandra is going to fall for Stephen, or if she's going to start to fall for Neil. I mean, and there's still that tiny possibility that what if it's Simon that she falls for? Either way, it will create lots of drama. So, I don't know. I don't know who she's going to fall in love with. Because it does say she experiences. And Stephen, because he's a good-looking young man, he is noticed by Simon and Neil's, I think, mom or sister or aunt or someone. I think maybe their mom, who is a photographer. And when Stephen and Thomas show up to spy on the group during the dinner, they get invited in, and actually, I think she's a cousin, because I think she's one of the Foxconnens. She meets Steven and thinks, ooh, I like how you look, I want to take your picture, and Cassandra's like, no, no, don't do it, Steven, don't, but I think that he decides, I am interested, and you're not going to tell me what to do. Like, I feel like it's a sense of pride thing that he doesn't want, even though he has feelings for her, he also doesn't want her telling him what to do. And I think it's partly that she's wealthier than he is, and she's a woman, so it's like, I don't need a wealthy woman telling me what I should or shouldn't do. I could be off here, but he did seem a little like he didn't like her telling him you shouldn't do this. So I think, I don't know, either I'm going to read Nevernight in bed tonight, or I'm going to read this one in bed tonight. I don't know which one. And I already talked about, this is another one that I already talked about, The Count of Monte Cristo, which you watched, and I haven't read anything from it since. I'm definitely going to read it at some point today. Of course, the problem is, whenever my parents go away for the weekend and I have the house to myself, I get caught up in watching TV, and it's not, I need to be doing my reading up here in my room where it's quiet, where the TV won't necessarily distract me. And those chairs are not comfortable. But, anyways, either way, I probably want to read a little bit more of all these books. So I don't have anything to really say about Count of Monte Cristo, so just refer to my discussion video on the first 30 chapters. And then I also read the first, this one I definitely need to. I read up to chapter 6, and I did start reading chapter 6 yesterday during my my break. Which, by the way, I'm probably not gonna. I just finished last night. I finished The Well of Ascension, but because I seem to be not very good at doing a review of those books, the Mistborn books, I'm not gonna do a review because I never know what to say, what not to spoil. I mean, yes, I could be like, I'm gonna spoil the book for you guys in this video, in this review, but I can't do an eloquent review for that book for some reason, or that trilogy. But, so I did read a little bit during my 15-minute break of Bleak House, chapter 6, but of course it's only 15 minutes. And, it doesn't help that small print. So, so far, not much has happened. We've just been introduced to Lady Deadlock, and Jarndyce and Jondice, and Esther, and we met Esther, who is her parents are unknown, but her godmother, who raised her, has told, said she's the object of her mother's sin, and it makes Esther feel horribly guilty and blames herself. So she becomes very obsessed with making herself a good little girl. And then her godmother ends up dying, so she and these other two people get sent to live with the Jarndyce. I think it was Tom Jarndyce. I don't know if I'm saying his name right. I try to watch books and things, see how she pronounces things like this. And she ends up at the Jellyby house, and she becomes friends with Miss Jellyby's children. She becomes very close with them. So I guess that's where she first went before she goes to Bleak House. And I'm guessing that chapter 6 is going to be about that. So, I don't know. So, there's that one, and I am also, the two books I read today, I ended up reading today. Where's Nevernight? I don't know where Nevernight is, but I read a little bit of Nevernight, and I got to the part where, And no, I'm not, like I said, I'm a slow reader, so this is more, I only got to this part because I had read the first part and then I kind of stopped. It took a really long break, and I decided this is one of the books I'm going to read for the Fantasy-a-thon. But I got to the part when Mia Cover gets her face altered. She's at the school training and going through her classes, her assassin classes, and she goes to the Weaver woman who can alter your physical appearance. And people have very strong reactions to her altered appearance because, her nose is fixed because her nose was broken, I think. Her skin is smoothed out. She is changed, altered a little bit. And it has a very strong reaction from people. Like, the boy who showed up with her trick, he's, for some reason he has this weird reaction to it. And that one woman that showed up with them, that one girl who doesn't really talk much, she has a very strange way of talking. And she's one of those characters that, she has this moment, seems like, she's like warning Mia, and it's like, be careful with these people. You can't trust them. They're gonna really mess with you and change you, and maybe not necessarily in the good way, kind of. Like, she kind of gives her warning. And she also has a very interesting reaction to the change that she let this woman change her physical appearance. And that's where I got. And we met another teacher who essentially poisoned the students in her class, and that to prove they were worthy, they would have to figure out one of them would have to figure out the antidote to the poison. And Mia, of course, and another girl who used to be slave that should have ran away and showed up at the school, they're the ones who are figure it all out. And then I stopped there because I try to read at least 2 chapters at the least. And then I am also reading The Stand. I went back to reading The Stand, the other Stephen King book I'm reading. Unfortunately, I'm not even halfway in this book. But I am at the part when we finally meet Mother Abigail. And we learn a little bit of her past. We learn that she had a beautiful singing voice, and that she used to play guitar. She's the oldest woman around living since the super flu. And of course, sadly, she experienced a lot of racism in her life. She got married 3 times and had a lot of kids, grandkids and great-grandkids. And some of our characters had been dreaming about her, so they finally show up. They have finally shown up. But of course, Stephen King spends a lot of time having you get to know his characters. So, most of this chapter is about us getting to know Abigail and the kind of person she is. So that's what's going on with my reading. And a bit of an update. So would love to know what you guys are reading, and I hope as always you are enjoying that. And if you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you haven't already. And I will talk to y'all later. Alright, bye!